Hey guys, welcome back to Sophisticakes by Mary. I know I said my posts might be a little few and far between, but I was able to get this tutorial ready for you. And in this one, I'm going to show you how I made this 4-tier gold drip cake that featured cascade of fresh floral that I think is just gorgeous. So if this sounds interesting, stick around. We'll get right to it. First things first, we're gonna get our tiers ready. Now these are already filled and crumb coated, but I'm gonna show you how I do the first coat of buttercream and how I finish them off. So this is a 12-inch and I have it on two 14-inch cake drums that are glued together. Just because since it's a tall, heavy cake, for a little bit more stability, we go ahead and glue two of them together with just some hot glue before we start assembling the cake. Now I like to use a piping bag a lot of the times to get my buttercream on my cakes because I feel like, well, first of all, I think I have a textural thing where I don't like to have my hands all gunky and sticky. It actually gives me anxiety. But you could also get a more even layer of buttercream around the cake, and it's a little bit less futzing around with it and trying to get everything level. It's a little bit easier to get a clean look when you use a piping bag. Now I cut the piping bag half an inch up from the tip, half an inch to an inch up from the tip. So you get a good bead of buttercream on there. Otherwise you're spinning it around and around and around and around with this little tiny hole cut in the tip of your bag. So go ahead and make it a little bit bigger of a hole. And then I'm using my plastic scrapers that I love to use to level it out. And here you can see that the texture of having the buttercream on my hands was starting to bother me. So I put on my gloves. And then I just sprayed a little water on the cake to help smooth out that buttercream. It kind of gives you a bit more of a smooth, completely finished off look. And then go ahead and bring that lip of buttercream that you have pushed up by scraping the sides into the middle. And then do this 500,000 times. That's what it feels like when you're in the middle of doing a big cake, is that you're spinning it around so many times because you need to push it up from the sides and level it down on the top. And then it kind of bulges out the sides, so then you need to level it out on the top again until you get to the point where you have just a nice 90-degree corner on that top edge. Now for this gold drip, I am just using white chocolate ganache. It's a 3-to-1 ratio. 3 parts chocolate to 1 part heavy whipping cream. Melt them together until you get a pipeable consistency and let it sit a little bit in the piping bag to firm up just a smidge. You want it to drip down your cake, but you also don't want it to drip off your cake unless that happens to be the look you're going for. I wanted to have some irregular length drips. And right there, I'm showing you how that drip, I wanted a little longer. And if you time it right, if you go back over it, it will combine with the original first drip and go a little bit further down. Don't wait to do that or you're gonna have a double drip. And then we did this through all of our tiers. And then in between, I am setting the cakes in the refrigerator to firm up and to stay firm, and for the chocolate to set up. Make sure that your fridge is not a humid fridge. I tell people I like my a residential fridge because I find that it's less humid. Commercial fridges are fine for some parts, but when it comes to the finishing off of your cakes, I don't like to work with a humid fridge because it just makes everything so much harder. Your chocolate won't set up right. It'll be soft, and sometimes it pulls away from the edge of the cake if there's humidity. So yeah, just a residential fridge, honestly, I find is the best fit for me. And then I'm using a combination of gold luster dust mixed with Everclear. You could use vodka. You could use lemon extract. I like the Everclear because I find I can get this done in 1 coat with the Everclear versus the other options. Now, if alcohol is an issue for you, then just know that you're probably gonna have to do 2 coats of the gold by using the lemon extract. It's just gonna be a little bit more streaky. Now, I'm not worried about getting the sides painted so much because nobody's gonna notice that. I used to worry more about that, being a perfectionist, but I have found that if I just use a brush that's the right thickness Not too fine of a tip, but not wide, not a flat tip, kind of a pointed. I wish I knew the number on this brush. I'll try to find it and add it in a link in the description box. Yeah, if you get the consistency of the gold drip, the gold paint right, and use the right brush, it is fairly easy to apply, and it kind of melts into where it needs to go. Melt's not the word I'm looking for, but it blends in and it kind of gives you much better coverage. And if you're finding that your gold is kind of acting grainy as you're brushing it on, add a little bit more of your liquid to it. You need to thin it out just a little bit more. Now, I like to use these star cutters to mark where I'm going to put my dowels. Since I use these bigger plastic dowels, I do almost all the time 5 around the outside and then 3 in the middle for the bottom tiers. Now, I cut each of them to the same height. I put one in, took it out, and cut it, and then measured it, cut it, and then I cut the other ones to the same size. For the middle ones, I like to leave them in the cake when I cut them off, just because doesn't have to be as exact. The outside ones are the ones that are gonna keep your cake level. The middle ones are just for extra support. And I like to leave those up a little bit so that when I put the cake on, the weight of the cake on top pushes the straws down, and you can kind of get your fingers out of the way a little bit quicker, a little easier. Now, I do work with chilled cakes while I'm assembling. Like, I'll have the tier that I'm putting on in the freezer as I am putting the dowels on the cake that it is going on, so that I have a little bit more security knowing that my cake I'm not going to ding it up. Now, here we're at the venue, and okay, it is on a pedestal. They had reserved that pedestal to rent, and it's fine, but the table itself was a little bit shaky, and with that much cake on a pedestal stand, I didn't do my normal doweling down the middle that I like to do. I knew these cakes were a little bit leaning, just a tiny bit. Not that it was going to be a problem for leaving it at the venue. Just for visual purposes, I would have preferred to use a sharpened dowel, long one, put it down the middle of all of the cakes with a hammer or a tool like that, and kind of counteract the lean as you're hammering it in, and that kind of corrects it a little bit. Maybe one of these days I'll show you how I do that. But I did not want to do that with the delicacy of the stand and the table. I just didn't want to mess with that. And I had all of these florals already, the stems were already wrapped with some floral tape. I didn't show that. I thought I did, but my camera wasn't on. So just know that they are all covered with the stems so that none of the juices from the flowers will get into the cake. And then a large majority of them were just anchored in with buttercream that I've piped on. The bigger ones are in the cake, but remember, with floral tape. You could stick a straw in there and then stick the flower in there if you feel better about that, but I did not have those straws, but I just made sure that those tips of those stems were secured. And then we just added some greenery to finish it off. Now, I know this cake is not as abstract and modern. It is a kind of more of a modern cake, but not what I normally do for my channel. But this is what we do for weddings around where I live. Not always. Sometimes we do some abstract ones as well. But I wanted to show you what we normally do here a little bit more on a regular basis, and I hope you liked it. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch my video. And if you'd like to watch some other videos, go ahead and click on the link to one of these other videos shown here. And if you would like to check out my other social media, I am on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, Sophisticakes by Mary. And please take the time to share, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know when I upload another video. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next tutorial.